This week's episode of the Sausage Pony, we build an exhaust system. So here is an assortment of just junk I have laying around. This was the system that was on the car. Those are galvanized fence posts to a chain link fence that have been patched and welded and bent. They were originally on my Fairlane and I didn't have hangers. I had the springs to a trampoline and that was hanging on this. Well, the springs fell off and it had bent, the exhaust bent down and drug on the ground, and then I blew the engine up like 5 minutes after that. Well, not the engine, the transmission blew up. And these mufflers are Thrush, if you can even see that. Thrush welded mufflers I bought at Farm and Fleet back when I was like 16. And those were tailpipes to my Fairlane that I had made back when it had leaf springs, and now at the 4-link they didn't fit, so they never even got painted. They've been sitting in a shed for several years now, probably 4 or 5 years, I don't know. And this stuff here, I wish I found this pipe because it's got a lot of good bends and it's not cut up. But those two pieces were to a system I was starting to mock up. You can see that it's real long with a huge pipe. It never got finished and I didn't even really progress anything on it. But that was for an F100. But I have all this stuff. We're about to make one awesome sounding exhaust system for this car. So far, I cut those flanges over there, 3-bolt flange, off the ends of that garbage, and I cut those tailpipes off the end of that tailpipe. So that was actually towards the back. Well, now I cut them both, and I measured. I'm going to cut this section off here and remove it, and this part will weld to that flange under the car as well as that one, and then I'm going to use some of these bends and build an X pipe. These will sit about right there, that close, and we're going to build an X pipe so it'll actually look very similar to this. So these tubes will come in, join in this area, and then split back apart like this. And after that, they'll go to those brand new mufflers that I bought like 6 years ago for that truck. And then we'll have them go to that and then turn. And my plan is to dump it out right here. Have the pipe come straight out in front of that tire. So without further ado, I'm going to cut these and then tack weld these under the car and start to get things just more situated. Alright, so I tack welded the passenger side onto the flange, and I went to do the driver's side, and the pipes do collide a little bit. So before I take it off, cut it, and everything like that, I decided I'm going to make the X pipe. So I have it right here on the ground. So we're going to make this, and you can see here I marked here. We're actually going to cut this cap off each of them and then move them together and weld so they'll be joined in the center. And then I think I'm gonna cut this one on this weld and this one in the same area, and bring this assembly then under the car and then mark on the pipes under the car where I need to cut them so that I can weld this assembly once it's done to those pipes, and then that will be one connected X pipe. So that's the next step. And you can buy kits and everything already done, but look at the car. The sausage brony has been built out of, I don't even know how many cars. It is a pure junkyard build, like real actual junkyard parts, other than hand-me-down parts that I got, like the export brace and the Monte Carlo bar. So this is probably actually too nice for this car. But I'm gonna cut that, weld it, and I'll be right back. Still a little warm, but you can see I just cut the centers of, well, not centers, I cut the side of each pipe out and then butted them up to each other and welded them so you get a cross flow. And a little bit of information here is an X pipe. I believe I can try to find the clip where they tested this against straight duals, meaning the left and right are separate banks. Then they put an X pipe on it, which is like this, and then they did an H pipe. An H pipe is where it just goes straight and then has a tube that goes across. An X pipe has proven to be better for more horsepower, and an H pipe makes more torque. And they're both better than true duals. True duals, you lose the most amount of power out of everything. And the sound difference, there's a major sound difference between all three of them, and an X pipe delivers the most awesome sound over all other exhaust. Oh, look at that, you can see it through all other exhaust configurations. So it's what I run on basically everything. This car even has an X pipe. Wait, no, that's an H pipe, but that was a kit that I bought. But anyway, voila, now to go make this fit. I had about an hour earlier in the day of free time, so I didn't record too much of actually making all of this. I just got out here, crawled under there, and I had to get it done because I was on very limited time. But I just finished fully welding it, except for up here. I built it all under the car, but one thing I noticed, I don't know if it's a header or what, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but that one there is angled, which, like I said, I built it all bolted up under the car, but I'm gonna double check that before I fully weld those. But there it is, the X pipe. Looks sweet. It's gonna sound epic. And I can't even see it anymore, but I'm excited. This is gonna sound so good. It's the next day already, and I crawled under here today. I've already come outside like 3 times, but have only been able to be out here for probably about 5 minutes now total. But I was able to bolt the X pipe in, and I got something in the mail today. So I'll flip the camera on and show you. The X pipe is welded and bolted in. So you can see I left enough room and everything. The drive shaft will have plenty of clearance. But this is the beginnings of our exhaust system. I'm gonna weld an O2 bung. Probably, I know it'd probably be better, oops, I'm trying to scoot. It'd probably be better welded in this collector, but I think I'm just gonna weld it right in here, drill it, and put a wideband O2 bung there, and I can cap it. But that'll help me tune this engine, get it really dialed in. But I will show you what also came. I already brought here. These are our tie rods. So I ordered these, and I'm gonna install them, and then we'll finally be able to move this car again, just roll it away so I can get it out of my front of my shop, because it's just sitting here and I can't get anything out, which that truck hasn't moved in forever anyway. But time to install them. I just assembled this one. I looked up, it didn't come with any instructions, so I just looked up any information I could, and this looks like the right side and this stuff looks like the left, and it actually looks like two different brands. So I looked this stuff up. These look like Moog, I believe, but then these ones show up as some other brand, so that's kind of weird. But they all look new, and you can tell they're different makes. Like like this other one looks way better than this, but guess what, I have nothing here, so this is better than nothing. But I screwed this in to about just right there on each of them. So one of these is reverse thread, so when you turn this one direction, it'll pull them both in, and then if you turn it the other direction, it'll push them farther apart so that you can adjust where your wheel is. Because when this is bolted to that tie rod, this steering, if it won't move, that's kind of rough, but if your wheels aren't aligned, that's how they align it. They'll turn that adjustment and push this wheel in or out to align it. So we're gonna eyeball it and then get them both in and then measure it with a tape measure, align it with a tape measure. But I'm gonna throw that in real quick. So I was just showing you how these tie rods are great. The boots are great. The boots are actually clipped to keep them down so that they won't open up. The tie rods are amazing. And this bracket, you can see it's very standard. Nothing real impressive about it, but it does the job. It's about normal. Well then, here's the other tie rod I was saying. See how the boot is actually not held down, it's just kind of sitting there. It's actually feels lighter, like it's not doesn't even have a grease zert screwed in. I don't think it came with, yeah, I didn't see the fittings, so I actually got to find something, but this is definitely cheaper. Well then I open up this. Oh my gosh, this is the heaviest duty steering linkage I've ever seen. Look at the difference. Oh my gosh. So I have mixed parts. This might have been for, I don't know. I wonder if it's too late to take it off. Swap them. But, yep, I had to show you that. So strange. Alright, the wheels look goofy because there's no load on them yet, but I got them aligned with a tape measure, just enough for it to roll and not, they were angled in towards each other. So it would have just been plowing itself. But I'm about to put wheels on it and just move it not here. So we still need a drive shaft. The gear oil came, and these cylinders on the back brakes, they are locked up. There's plenty of fluid. You can see my wrench is still there. Bled them a lot, and there's no air. It's really good, but these cylinders aren't moving. And I think I saw some in a package in the shop, so I don't know if they're to a 9-inch. I don't know if they're the same between a 9-inch and an 8-inch or what, but I'm gonna look. But the front brakes work great. So here it is. About to put those wheels on, and I don't know where I'm gonna put it. Probably in my backyard. This is the cool side, by the way, because it's got the cool wheel. Bam! Well, I gave in and I ordered new tie rod end links. Couldn't find that missing one, but now I'm going to install these. You can see the upgrade too. Just how much bigger diameter this bolt is. It's much more heavy duty. So I don't know if the camera picks it up, but it's pretty good. Bam! There it is. All new anti-sway bar end links installed. So now we actually have this beefy anti-sway bar. You can just see how massive that is. Plus with the larger bolts, that's really good. So that'll at least help hold the front end on from falling off. But, yep. Whee! Time to put the wheel back on. So I've come to the conclusion that this is just froze up. Cannot get it to move, and it's got no air in the lines. Bled it so much. But I was cleaning and I found these. So I don't know if I ordered these a long time ago, like probably a couple years ago or something, thinking I was going to rebuild this, or if, I don't know. But it looks like it'll work. So I'm gonna swap it on. I have another one. I found another one in a box. So they were completely in different areas, but now I found them both. So I'm taking that as a sign to replace it. You can see, I mean, it's not in bad shape. Definitely looks like crap though. Never mind. It looks like junk. Oh geez, almost like saturated in oil. Probably won't stop. Yep, this is the inside of the old wheel cylinder. There was no chance that was gonna move. Pretty toasted. I threw some black paint on this one just so it won't rust, or at least as easily. Installed it, and one thing I do love about this one is, it might be hard to see. See that bleeder? Now, I'll show you the old bleeder. So the old bleeder, look how tiny this is. And it uses a 1/4 wrench, and they strip out all the time these small ones. These small ones are just junk, and you can't just buy those if you go to an auto parts store. They only come in a pack, so I had to pay $17 for a pack just to get 2 of these ridiculously small ones, when this one here I believe is a 5/16. Oops, actually that one might be a 3/8. It's huge, way better, doesn't strip out. But I'm just gonna throw the other one in, put the drums on, and I still need a drive shaft. I got the mufflers welded on. They're SLP loudmouths, and the one end here is larger, and you can see it's cut for a pipe to fit in, but the other side was the same diameter, so I just welded it. Just welded that side, so they're there. But my next idea is I just cut this off another piece, and this was a leftover piece as well, is obviously Shazam that into something, and I'll have a hanger right here and another hanger right there to take the weight off, but that will exit right here. So this whole system will just go up ka-dunk. But now I need to reinstall it, brace it so it's not just hanging on the headers, and then build this for each side. And I'm getting it running low on scraps. I've got that bend there and that bend, and then I've got this piece which is full of bends, and then this other straight piece which is the exact same length as the other one I have right there. So all I really need is another bend, and I'll probably cut that one. But okay, I'm gonna get back to it. Shazam! It's getting late, so I'm about to go in for the night, but I'll show you. That is a pretty radical bend. I know that's like an actual 90, but it's a sausage pony, so it doesn't matter. So I ordered hangers that will hook to the end of those pipes and suspend it, so that'll take it. But then this pipe will, let's see if I can crawl under it. It's still hot. So this pipe sticks in there, and then I welded a bolt to the subframe connector and put a piece of angle iron and drilled a hole in it so that it can suspend hold this pipe on its own. But for the bushings, I used, this was a free shock I got that went to a Mustang, and it's blown out. See, if you push, it doesn't go back up. It's totally shot. But it has these. So I'm going to use these here as the bushings so that this thing won't be solid connected. It'll have some rubber, some flex, and hopefully help with vibration of the exhaust and whatnot. There we go. Yep, that is a chicken. That chicken escapes constantly. No matter how many times I throw it back, it just comes back. Now it's going into my shop to jump on my freshly painted vehicles. But anyway, there it is. It's kind of sandwiched. Nice mount. Comes out of that exhaust system. Voila. Ordered brand new, I just had the drum on, so that's why it's dirty, but ordered brand new brake shoes, got them installed on both sides, and the new slave cylinder, so the rear brakes are good. And while I was at it, I disconnected the e-brake cable that was cut off. It was sticking out here, and I just cut it when it was in the other car. And I installed the other one, but now I'm about to put this one in. And believe it or not, this is free. So it moves. I guess you can't see with my hand in the way. But I was pulling on it, so I'm gonna shoot some WD-40 or something down in both of them and install the e-brake cable, so it'll at least be there hooked up. So there's that. The next problem of the car is actually under there. Here, I'll flip the camera around. The clutch Z-bar is hitting the headers, so it will not let the Z-bar move forward enough, so I have to cut the header and then re-weld it in another spot to get the proper movement. So that'll be next time because it's just more work. But the car is closer and closer constantly. It's about to be running and driving. There it is. America. So I already pulled the gearbox out. That was easy, wasn't it? Well, kind of. I pulled the header out, which is right there, and the clutch linkage, dropped it all already, and the exhaust I just built, and I'll show you this steering box. I know what you're gonna say, Jim, you should have taken that apart and double checked it and cleaned it before you just installed it. And you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'll show you what it looks like. It's trash. Trash. So looks horrible, but I'm gonna clean it and see. It almost feels like the bearings are destroyed in it, like when you spin it, it feels like I pictured all the bearings just destroyed, and that like thin sheet metal collar that holds the rollers in place, I picture that all chewed up, but we'll see. So I think next I'll probably have to somehow remove this. So I'll get to it. So I was pretty close. I pictured needle bearings, but they're ball bearings. And yep, totally destroyed. Remember how I said I picture this metal ring just destroyed? Yeah, it like doesn't exist. Oh, a ball just fell out. A bunch of them, look at them all. So yeah, that definitely was not gonna work. Dang. So one thing is they were all the same. All gearboxes are the same, doesn't matter what, except for gear ratios and this pitman arm. So I could put the manual steering box in. I believe it was a 1 and 19 to, Jesus, I'm having some issues. A 19-to-1 turn ratio, which is like ancient. Like that will take you half a year to turn lock to lock. So I could just swap this on the other one and it would work. Bring the other one in, clean it. It was flawless, like it worked fine. Or I could try to rebuild this quicker ratio box and have a quicker ratio of steering, and I am not going to run power steering. So this car is actually going to be manual steering. So it'll definitely be harder to spin with this, but if you're moving, it doesn't matter. That's only when you're sitting still. I'd rather have a quick ratio box and it'd be harder to steer sitting still than have that really high ratio. So maybe I'll clean this out, look into some online articles and read about, maybe find a IPB, illustrated parts breakdown, and just look at this whole thing and see what all is even here and what's not. But yeah, one last look. Got it all torn apart. This is just toast, man. That was once grease. You can check, I dumped a lot of it on the ground and swept some of it up, but I mean, there's still a lot left in here just to show how bad it was. Real bad. And I'm using this box that the brakes came in and using it to just keep all the parts together. I hope I can get this back to the right spot. It has like thicker sections, so it can only go on 4 different ways. So I've got a 1 in 4 chance of just getting it right. Usually if it's 50-50, I get it wrong, but look at that. I'll get a new bearing. I actually don't know what it's supposed to look like either. That bearing fell out of it somewhere. Where was it? It went around here. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to kind of guess with it. This pivot's hopefully not on a bearing. I can see something down in there. Maybe just a hole, I don't know. But I'll just Shazam this all back. The clutch Z-bar was hitting this pipe here on the inside around this area here. So the clutch wasn't able to actuate at all. So I marked up here, this will give ample amount of room. If I cut it there, and I was thinking of cutting it here, but now I'm thinking if I cut it here, it'll be harder to weld to fill, which could be an issue. But then I could turn this, and I have enough room to bring this pipe over the top here, and then bring it back up. And then I'll have plenty of space right here for the clutch linkage. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. It would be easier if I cut it here, but then I've got a bend that's facing down that I have to then turn up. But if I cut it here, I could just rotate this. So I think that'll be it. We'll try that. Thought I smelled something. My welding lit that on fire. It's full of grease. The steering gearbox rebuild kit I ordered from Jegs, and they must not have been able to find one or something because it took them days to, it was in processing, and then they just refunded the money. So I ordered it from Kentucky Mustangs, I think it is. So it's on the way, and the next thing really to find for the car to drive was a drive shaft. And this 4-speed that I got, so I went to the junkyard, as you guys know. I got the 4-speed, found it in the junkyard, and it was the original 4-speed to this car, the restoration car. So, and it's a top loader 4-speed Ford, HEH-P for a 1960, I believe 5 or 4.5 Mustang. So we got that. Well, it is a weird year where it has the better bell housing mount, or the transmission mount, where it's the 4 bolts on the transmission. Instead of being the real narrow ones, it's the spread out pattern. But it is the year before they went to 28 spline, like the C4, T5, basically everything else. So it has a 25 spline output shaft. You would not think that they would put that on a 4-speed, but anyway, so that has made getting a drive shaft, and the yokes, the slip yokes, are like over $100 if they're in stock. So far, everyone's been out of stock. So I went to the junkyard, and me and my friend went. There was a 1960 school bus and full of hundreds of drive shafts, and we looked for probably like 30 minutes or so. Couldn't find one, and I found another one that I counted 25 splines, and I brought it home, and it did fit, but it was loose on the seal, so it would lose fluid. Well, he called me back, and he said, I knew I had it. He goes, I knew my memory was right, that he had a drive shaft that said 65 Mustang 4-speed on it. So I drove back there the next day, and I'll show you. It is the original drive shaft. So 65 Mustang 4-speed, 289. It is the original drive shaft that was out of that car. And when I mean original, I mean someone probably got, either it was stock or someone got it modified, because that car had this 9-inch under it. So, but it's the totally correct length with the correct slip yoke. So this just saved me a lot of money having to get one built and more time. So I'm gonna clean this baby up, grease it, because this actually it works good, and it does have a grease zert. So I'm just gonna grease that front one and grease this back one, and then put a new cap on it, and we're gonna run it. That should probably be replaced, but we'll clean it up. For the transmission and the rear axle, I bought this Lucas 80W90 gear oil. So for transmissions and differentials. And then I ordered this little handy, it's down all the way, but you'll push this up and just pump it. That way you don't have to do all kinds of contraptions and try to squeeze bottles and spill all over. Needed this for years. Finally decided to buy one. So I took all the plugs out of the transmission and the 9-inch. I'm just gonna fill them till oil starts to come out of the fill holes. There it goes. See, it's up. Yeah, it's already working. Sweet. Well, this is much easier. All right, well, I'm gonna keep doing this for maybe a minute or so, and then I'll put the plug in. And now it's the 9-inch's turn. What a thirsty little Mustang. Okay, well, this is super boring, so I'm gonna save you guys from it. Okay, beer bag. I fully greased this Zert here, and this view joint's mint. It's super smooth, no catches, anything like that. I greased the outside and inside of this to help it slide in and just hopefully prevent some rust on it too, because it'll have a nice layer of grease. And then the back here, we were missing one end cap, so I went to go buy a new U-joint, and I did, but instead of putting it in, I went to press this out with my press, and it would not move. I removed the clips, and the last one I did, the car blew up. It just, I was young, never mind. But anyway, but I greased it, and it's flawless. It's super smooth too, so I just put the new caps on each side, and I just happened to find this laying in a box. It is the U-bolts, the straps that go right here. Oops, might have to turn it, but they clamp that in place to the axle. So I'm gonna just install those real quick, and our drive shaft will be done. We're in. Now I just gotta zip tie this up, install the exhaust and starter, bleed the rear brakes again, replace these rear shocks, tighten these bolts here, and I think, and put a hose clamp on that fuel line, a couple other things, and then I can drive it to my front yard. Now it's time for the exhaust system. So I just noticed a problem with putting the exhaust in. I'm missing a header. Oh man, and I can't put the header in until I rebuild that gearbox and put the steering box in, then the header. But this thing isn't bolted in, you can see it's just loose, so I'll probably just leave the exhaust system here. That steering kit says it's supposed to arrive, I think it said Thursday, which today is Thursday, so maybe I'll go check the mailbox, but maybe I'll put the starter in. I need to look at the list, so gotta go. Well, I went and checked the mailbox, and I've got 3 packages, and one of them says from the Kentucky Mustang's place, so we know we've got it, and then 2 more parts, so let's go over. So here's the kit, very simplistic and small. And I'm not gonna film rebuilding this whole thing. There are some videos already out there on the internet of how to rebuild these, and this video is already getting kind of long. But what I will show you or tell you is this tube here is, I forget exact sector shaft or something like that. This is the lawnmower parts from the lawnmower I just rebuilt. It is this shaft here. So you can see those little lines there, and then right here, those are where these needle bearings ride. And they press in to this shaft here, about right there, and somewhere around there. And then this one here, you saw, when that one bearing exploded. Well, here's the other one. You can just see how awful this looks. And one of them goes right here in this cap that's off. The cap pushes on it, and the other one is on the other side of this. So you have to punch that seal out, that clip, and there's the bearings. And there's a seal for the front right here, I believe. I think. It might be for the sector shaft, I can't remember. But I'm gonna rebuild this. Next time you see it, it'll just be shazammed back together. But I'm gonna get it done. Voila! So I guess I will show you. Here's that end cap I was talking about. Punch that out. This is a bearing race. Punched that out. And this needle bearing exploded. All those needles are in there. This one stayed together. These things are, this was just toast. The only thing this kit didn't come with is this gasket, which I'll just use RTV. Voila! Okay, well, I'm gonna put all that stuff in. Probably clean this once more, clean out this fill port. Ugh. That chunk's now laying in there. But I'm gonna hose this baby out with some brake clean and then assemble it. So the recording just stopped with me putting that one down there because I had to use my flashlight on my phone to shine down in there so I could see that race while I pushed it in. So there it is. I gotta just double check it, make sure it's flat all the way. And while we're here, you can see the new roller bearings, needle bearings, whatever you wanna call them. So I just gotta double check that. Ooh, where is it? Double check that down there, and then get this cover here and replace that one. So you can see that kind of concave, I don't know what that shape is, the race though. But I just gotta remove that one and put a new one in. And then, boom, rebuilt. Gotta fill it with grease. I've got that grease and I just got a tube of multi-purpose grease. I'll probably use that out of my little grease gun. Get these babies greased up and assemble everything out of there. And I'm using different size sockets as precision punches, but using what I got. Okay, I'm gonna finish this up and then show you guys it close to done. Just got done taking this all apart. This is full of ball bearings, little bitty metal balls. Tore it all apart, soaked it all, cleaned it, and then repacked them down in here. Put wheel bearing grease on this thing and I ran it back and down. I mean, look at that. Woo, woo. Real smooth. And this is brass. And if you notice, the teeth are different size. It's thicker here, thinner there, and that'll correlate with this gear here. So I put it so that the thicker portion will be down further, down here. I have no idea if that's how it was, but that's how I'm gonna do it. So I put this bearing on the end, so now I'm gonna kind of put those two together. All right, it is packed full of grease. I have used almost that entire grease tube. It's brand new, just put it in today. And I just pumped this thing full of grease and brought it back and forth, spinning this both sides, bringing that gear back and forth, probably 10 or 20 times, I don't know, somewhere in that ballpark. But I think I'm gonna cap it up and call it good. Thank God. I'm ready to install this puppy. I won't even be able to get the car running today, so it's gonna be probably another week. I don't know. Well, bad news. The steering shaft, where is it? There, wherever. Spinning it, you know, it's not smooth. It's not just, it's like, I can feel a catch. There's catching, so I took it back apart. Well, I took the front part off. I'll show you. So I inspected this, and I'm like, why does that bearing just feel like it's catching? So I started, cleaning this a little bit, and I might have to wipe it off. That is the actual bearing face that it rides on. You can't see, but what these balls ride on has to be the opposite of a race, how it's smooth. Well, the steering shaft is pitted and rusted, so it's not riding on a smooth surface. The shaft itself and the shaft is bent. So there is a slight bend to it, but it's not ultra bad. So I'm just gonna put it back together and hope it holds, that it doesn't just blow these balls out. But I don't think it will. I think it'll just be, it'll catch and be kind of gritty. So I just spent, total was like $124 to rebuild this, plus that whole tube of grease and 2 weeks. So now I'll just be in the market to find a box, and I do have that 19:1 ultra grandma ratio box, but I'm gonna put this one back in. And the other one's mint. I guess I could use that shaft. No, because the gear, the stuff inside will be different. Oh geez, oh well. Putting it back together, putting it in the car. It's the next day. I did a lot of wrenching on the Mustang last night, and this morning I went to Tractor Supply. I was looking for a Heim joint, a piece of all thread, and some bolts. This is the clutch linkage, and you can see it's bent. And this is non-adjustable, and the one I put on, this will not work. Where this 90-degree piece is, it has a block that comes out so a bolt can go through it and be adjusted. Chicken's screaming. So I'll show you what I got. So one thing is, if you guys are up north, the store Menards, they have everything. I was hoping to get a Heim joint, which will go right here. It's like basically a bearing that allows a bolt to go through it and screw to something. Maybe I'll put a picture right here of what it looks like. And then I was gonna get a piece of all thread right here, and then here would be 2 nuts so that it would go through the block here, because the block actually comes out of this, so this would slide through it. And then you could adjust this linkage to the arm properly. And I was gonna do the same with this, replace this with a Heim joint and then use all thread with a nut that's round on one end. And that way this isn't held in, this is purely held in with friction, like it being pushed against it with spring pressure. And that seems really sketch. But they have this collar, which I'm going to take out. I'm gonna cut this end here, drill half of this out to 7/8, slide it, or 7/16, slide it over, weld it, and then cut a bolt in half and weld the bolt to it. And that's what we'll have for the time being. I know I can Amazon the Heim joint, but I really want to get the car to move. And this was $10. This should be 50 cents, and it was already open, so I think I don't know what they were doing. Wasn't supposed to come with more than one though. But yeah, this was $10 at Tractor Supply. $10, and the spring was $5. I just came home and my wife's like, that spring should be 85 cents, and this should be 50 cents. So that's crazy. But I'm gonna build that and install it. So I just drilled this. So this is a 1/2 inch tube, and I just drilled it to, let's see, I gotta check, 31/64, which is right below 1/2 inch. So it's kind of like an interference fit, and then I beat it on with a big old maul right here. Just beat it, and this is 3/8, which is the diameter of the tube that the bolt is going into. So that's really tight. We're gonna weld all around the sides and plug weld. And then I found I was gonna use this, which is not long enough. It'd just barely be enough threads. And then as I was walking, I found this on the ground. So I cut the head off of it. And see, it's kind of loose. So we're gonna have to try our best to get that straight. And then weld it. And that's our makeshift, just hodgepodge thing. All right, I did a lot of work off camera. I got the plug wires plugged in. The clutch linkage is all hooked up and adjusted. You can see it, the adjustments and everything right there. The spring is in. I don't know how well you can see down there. I put the headers in, obviously, the steering gearbox, all that. I just clamped this battery in place, checked fluids. I put gas in the tank and hooked the tank up, filled the floats, put 1/2 gallon of antifreeze in the radiator, and put about a quart of oil in it. Everything's leaking like it should. Up there, the rear end's leaking, but here I can show you underneath the car. I tightened up the that thing over there, the slapper bar. Exhaust is installed. It's all ready. So we're about to fire it up in neutral, and hopefully it runs. It hasn't been started in probably 8 months now. It's just been sitting here. All to do a 5-lug swap. The car sat for like 8 months. But we'll test it out. All right, my only hope right now is that it just doesn't light on fire. Gotta grab the key. All right, batteries. The knife switch is connected, so if that battery's good and has power, it should start. Totally nervous. Oh. All right, here it goes. Hasn't rained in 8 months. Volt gauge is on. Fired right up. Must be in first or something. God, I hope it doesn't fall off jack stands. Listen to that. America. America. I can't believe it runs. I don't have many things that run. All right, we're gonna rev it up a little bit. I'll flip the camera around so I can show. This is a chainsaw attachment. It's in my way. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera around. We got 40 pounds of oil pressure, 14 volts. Push the clutch in. Rev it up a little. This might be better than when my daughter was born. This is the best day ever. Man, I'm gonna put tires on and rip it. Now that the car runs, I'll fix this. I aired it up. It's leaking right here. So you can see the hole actually right there. And look at all those other pitting. I think we'll just fill this thing with like fix-a-flat later. But I'm gonna weld that. The welds keep like pinhole leaking. So I filled the tire full of fix-a-flat and it said to drive on it for 4 miles. But instead I just jacked it up and we're gonna rotate it like this so that it spreads it evenly. That's what it says, except I only want it in one spot primarily. But I'm gonna let it do this for a while. Spinning at about 20 miles an hour. We're at about 100 and probably 110. That, I don't know if that's hooked up, but that is 13.9 volts. Oil pressure's good. Fuel gauge, I think it's hooked up. I don't know. Still leaking. From like 3 spots. So I figured before I drive it on its maiden voyage up to the driveway, I'd clean this moss off the windows. So I got this. Oh, got this. The sausage pony made it to the front yard. The rear end is completely locked. I thought it had like a traction lock in it, but when I did that little turn out of the shop, you could hear it skipping. And man, is the clutch on this different than anything newer I've driven. Even that's an old cable driven like an SN95 was. Now it's an auto, but this Z-bar linkage is nuts. But here it is. And the engine, driving it, it started to surge. So the engine needs a tune. Like I need a tune up on it. But check this thing out. So this video was over a course of about 3 months of just finding time here and there to work on it, get it back on the road. The next video you'll see of this car will be a full rebranding. The sausage pony will be gone and a new Mustang will have taken its place. Same car, just rebranded. Alright guys and girls, thanks for watching this episode. Jeez, my hair, mess. Thanks for watching. Yeah, this thing is awesome. It has a bunch of race car parts now. And man, when I was leaving the shop, I'm holding the shifter now, I keep looking down at it. I put it in what I thought was first, and I let up, and I was like, it's not going anywhere, it's neutral. This car, you have to learn every car you get and kind of figure them out. This one is like relearning how to drive. It is completely old school. This first and second gear, I mean, you gotta go back, man, and way. This is like the longest throw I've ever driven of a shifter. And the clutch, I don't know how to explain it. It's a Z-bar. It is bizarre. It's a, I don't know how to explain it. You'd have to drive it. So yeah, this thing is sweet, and I'm completely rebranding it now. The sausage will still live slightly in the background to this car, is known as the Sausage Pony. But what you're about to see, I've been dreaming of it for like 6 months when I started the 5-lug swap. So stay tuned. You're about to see this thing like you've never seen before. Thanks for watching. Bye.